Hi, I'm Louie Juarez, and I'm here at Balboa Park in San Diego, one of my favorite spots to paint. There's so much to see in Balboa, and you can do a 360 and paint so many aspects, different aspects of this beautiful park that was established in 1915 with the Pan American exhibition, and these are all the original buildings from that time period, which is a historic, beautiful place to come and visit. So I'm going to start this watercolor with a first wash and with a sky, and then let that dry, and then come back with some of the harder edges. I'm looking at my pencil sketch, and that'll help me to do the sketch on the canvas. And so I try to include my darkest darks and my lightest lights on my pencil sketch, and then use that as a reference for what I will do on the paper that I paint. I start the sky with a yellow ochre and paint all across the sky, and then I'm going to come in with some cerulean or cobalt below, right above it, so I can let that bleed right into it. And now I'm going to come under with some color from which I want to depict the umbrellas, some reds and some turquoises. And I'll just paint that real briefly. I'm not trying to paint umbrellas one by one, but incorporate those turquoises and reds all over, and then I'll define it, cut away later. Now the bottom half of the painting, I'm going to use some yellow ochre and then make it darker. It's always important to have a darker color at the bottom of the picture to give it a base or a foundation. The building is kind of a gray color, but we're going to liven it up, and I'll have some yellow ochre, some browns, but I'm using colors that I've already used. See, all of this is good. All these colors that I use, you don't throw them away, you just use them somehow. And don't try to be so realistic. We're not realistic painters. I just paint for fun, paint what you see, somewhat paint what you see, but and then just start in here. I don't let it drip too much on the bottom, but come up here. I'm going to use a different brush here. I'll use some of the cerulean that I used prior, and come up here. So if you look at the shape of the building, there's a dome up there, and I'm not trying to fill everything in. The paint is drying really fast because of this warm day, but I'm bringing some of the golden part from this building and just moving it over here. And don't paint it solid because I want there to be some light in there. It's a little bit blue, but and then this up here, the tower. So I'm not trying to be exact, but just an idea of what is happening up here, and let that bleed into the next color here. Use some browns. On here I'll come up a little bit darker. Now I'm going to paint around these umbrellas, and I try to save some whites. I'm going to use a bigger brush. Dry it off a little bit, but then come in here. Try to paint these umbrellas. And I've saved some whites up there. And then come down under the umbrellas just to match what's up above. And now there's some people down there, so I'm going to do some highlights. People are dining, having a lunch. But you don't want your buildings to be flat. Even if it's a flat building, put something on the roof. In this particular building, there are some ornamental arches. But see how that makes it come alive, and just right away you have something to talk about. So, and what I just achieved right here was the ability to capture a visual interest by incorporating the bumps on the roof. What I could do is, for the tower, is place the windows, or you see in the tower there are some arch windows, but you don't want to do it too heavy. They should be dry brush, because that will give the appearance of a distant building or distant windows. See, that's even a little bit too hard. But all of this adds features to the distance. Now the palm trees in the back are probably just going to be a light gray, because I don't want them to be too noticeable, but they're going to be there. Now I'll do a dry brush. Come in with a little more water on there, a little more color. Now the bottom half of the painting, which I'm hesitant to start on because I'm not sure what to do. So anyway, I think what I'm going to do is, well, the people are going to be dry brush down here, because I know they're going to have some people down here, and I don't really know where they're going to sit, except I'll just put some faces by getting some orange and yellow ochre, and then placing them where I think the faces would be. And over here, some people walking, and so we have some people. They're going to be underneath the umbrellas. And just shoulders. Table, there's some chairs, legs on the table. Notice I'm not very accurate right now, but that's okay, because we're just getting an idea. Over here, these are not as important, so it's going to be less noticeable, the tables, but then down here, the chairs, the legs. And then I'm going to incorporate this into the shadow. There's going to be a big shadow right here. So, some people in the distance. They're going to need a lot of juicy paint. So I'm going to use all the colors, but mostly alizarin crimson, ultra, maybe a little burnt sienna. Grab some of this orange up here. I need a lot of it, so I need to add more water to make this soup. A kind of a purpley color, grape color, wine color. Throw a little more blue. And that brush is very well loaded. It's a squirrel mop brush. And then I'm going to just bravely come down. I don't know if so bravely, but nervously just come in to grab some of that and then make a bunch of lines here. Don't even know what I'm doing yet, but these are all shadows, and they're just adding to the character of the painting. And there's some in the background. I know there's just to link these bodies here with the background. Come in like that. I'm not sure what's going to happen. I really don't know how it's going to look once I take off the tape. I'm going to come back and work on the figures here, make them a little darker. Here, these guys will be darker as well. I'm going to wet these so they can drip a little bit. Doesn't have to be totally accurate on the feet. Some hair. Get some hands in there. He's holding a bag. I'm going to make these arches darker because they're a little bit too light right here. And connecting that to torsos of the figures. We got some information down, not necessarily accurate, but what I want to do is just convey a message of the day. Very warm, sunny day, people sitting under umbrellas. And it didn't take very long. I'm going to peel off the tape and we'll see what we have.